Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Doors Update News, the only place where you can find a dude milking a topic to death, only this time it now involves lore. Now, as you all probably know, I've made around 5 videos about the upcoming garden subfloor, as well as the supposed snare boss which is theorized to come with it. And this video will be the 6th entry into that list of videos. However, I promise this will be interesting, as I'll be going over a theory I have never explained on this channel before regarding the subfloor, as well as how it could impact the future of the game. You see, this video will revolve around one of the most mysterious items within the game, that being the Herb of Veritas. Now, ever since this item was introduced in the Hotel Plus update, I was always curious about its presence. After all, not only is it found in a hospital-like room that is oddly inside of a hotel, but it is also securely locked behind a skeleton door. So, in this video, I'll be explaining this item's theorized story, as well as how it all relates back to the garden subfloor I mentioned previously. So, with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so as I had mentioned in the intro, the Herb of Veritas is a very intriguing item. This is a plant which, once interacted with, grants the player a permanent health regeneration effect. In order to find it, you must first make your way to the infirmary, a hospital-like room which is located around rooms 60 to 70. Once you get to the infirmary, you must explore around until you find a skeleton door. This door can be unlocked by using a skeleton key on it, a rare item which is most commonly obtained from Jeff's shop. After opening the door, you'll be met with an office-like room that contains the Herb of Veritas on a desk, and then you can finally gain its benefits. Now, although the existence of a hospital-like room in a hotel of all places is very strange, what I'm more curious about is the Herb of Veritas itself. After all, it makes sense why it's in the infirmary, as it has healing properties, which likely help with any potential patients, but why does it only exist there? And why is there only one of these plants? And why is it so heavily secured? There are a lot of questions which do need to be answered. Well, given how the infirmary is the only place where this specific plant can be found, as well as how a small sample is present here, in addition to how it is heavily guarded by the skeleton door, which can only be accessed with a skeleton key, I believe that the Herb of Veritas is quite rare and sought after, hence why such measures are put into place to protect such a small amount. Now, although that is a fairly interesting conclusion, it doesn't mean anything major about the lore. Or does it? You see, if the Herb of Veritas was so valuable and desirable due to its healing properties, as well as its rarity, it's likely that there would be attempts to produce more of this stuff. And I believe this ties back into a few other important locations within the game, those being the Courtyard and the Greenhouse. You see, the Courtyard and Greenhouse areas always struck me as odd, as although it logically makes sense why they are placed in the hotel, as it is likely so visitors can enjoy the breathtaking scenes of nature, the sheer volume of areas to grow plants is what I find interesting. Now, it would make complete sense if just the Courtyard existed, due to the reason I just described, but there isn't really any need for multiple expansive greenhouse rooms if their sole purpose was just to impress tourists. However, what would make sense is if these rooms existed for another purpose, one which would require a lot more space to grow vegetation. You see, I theorized that although at face value the Courtyard and Greenhouse are primarily used for guests of the hotel to enjoy nature, their underlying purpose would be to recreate the Herb of Veritas. Although, it's likely that this plant is hard to recreate. And given how it appears to be such a sought-after item, no wonder so much space was dedicated to attempting to reproduce it. This would not only explain nicely why the greenhouse is so massive, as well as its overall existence, but it would also fit with the story of the Herb of Veritas I came up with, as it would make sense why people would want more of it due to its qualities despite its difficulty to obtain. So, with all of that being said, what does that have to do with the garden subfloor? Well, as I had explained in a previous video, it appears that the snare boss, or Big Vine, or whatever you want to call this important entity, originated in the Courtyard and Greenhouse areas. Given how those locations were intentionally made to grow vegetation, likely as an attempt to reproduce the Herb of Veritas as we had previously discussed, whereas other overgrown areas such as the overgrown rooms in the mines seem to be unintentionally infested. However, I also explained that it appears that this vine will be a boss or some type of entity we will face in the garden subfloor, given its relation to plant life overall. So, if the vine is related to the subfloor and the vine was created in the courtyard and greenhouse, and those areas were originally made to grow the herb of viridis, it's possible that the herb and the subfloor could be directly related to each other given how they connect through this chain of events. But what do I mean by that? Well, now it's time we move on to the speculation about upcoming features part of this video, in true update news segment fashion. Alright, so given how it appears the herb of viridis is indirectly connected to the garden subfloor, what if the player is required to have its regeneration status effect in order to access the sublevel? As if it was a requirement to unlock the subfloor's entrance, much like how the skeleton key and 2 lockpicks are required to access the rooms. Additionally, given its importance, I think it's possible for the herb of viridis to be seen in the subfloor, either as a decoration or part of an upcoming entity, or as a plot point. For example, what if we need to go into the subfloor to actually retrieve samples of another herb of viridis whilst facing entities along the way, or something like that? There are a whole lot of possibilities for how both the herb of viridis and the garden subfloor could be connected, albeit all the examples I listed are just speculations based on how both concepts seem to be connected through the greenhouse and the big vine. So, to summarize, based on how the herb of viridis seems to be a scarce and heavily protected resource, I believe that the courtyard and greenhouse were made to specifically attempt to reproduce it. However, given how because of all the plant growth going on there, the big vine, aka the snare boss, also came to be. Due to the vine's supposed connection to the garden subfloor, I theorize it's possible for the middleman to be cut out, and the herb of viridis as well as the garden subfloor may be directly connected through a plethora of ways which may be revealed once the subfloor actually releases, such as how more of it could be found in the garden subfloor. So, with that explanation out of the way, let me know your thoughts about this theory in the comments. And with all of that being said, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.